Welcome back to the 99, where we are focused on brewing a better competitive commander. I'm your host, Patrick Marlett, and today we are taking a deep dive into the mind of madness, the mind of Anje Falkenrath. She's new to Commander 2019. You've likely seen a few lists for her already, so you probably know the basic strategy. However, this is, and I'm going to say it, this is the definitive list for Anje Falkenrath. So what you don't know is that I've been trying to brew for Rakdos over the last 2 months. Everything from Olivia mobilized for war, all the way to Timorat, the Murder King. I will state, Lysolda, the next best thing to Anje. And of course, C19 hit, and we are privy to not only Anje, but Chainer, the new Chainer, the Rakdos Chainer, Nightmare Adept. And they're both really great in their own ways. I will state that Chainer, I tried brewing for him first because Anje was the popular one. Very difficult to make a successful list for him, although he does have a lot of utilities on his belt. Batman, look out. But you see, that is the beauty behind the mind of madness. That is Anje Falkenrath, because when you discard cards, you get to draw cards. And that's everyone's favorite thing, right? You like having a flush hand. Well, you're not really going to have a flush hand with her. You're going to break even every time. But when you do discard cards, you might be able to untap her. And if you don't know who Anje Falkenrath is, or you don't know what she does, if you found this video, I don't know how that happened. But I'm going to go ahead and read her off now. And by the way, Tapped Out, been talking about it on the Discord. It's had a few issues since recently. So in the link down in the description, if you want to follow along with the primer, you may do so. It might not have the written portion out. I have a draft saved because it's not letting me save the draft to the primer. So if there isn't a written primer on the Tapped Out account where the deck list is linked, that is why. Follow this video instead, and I will teach you the ways of madness. So Anje Falkenrath, 1 generic, 1 black, 1 red, 3 CMC, legendary creature vampire, love it already, 1/3, ooh, that big old booty, and that's the beauty of it. Pyroclasm? Not today. So she has haste. As soon as you cast her, you can do the thing, and that thing is tap, discard a card, draw a card. So you are essentially netting 1 draw every time you get rid of something. That's great. But what's this? A triggered ability? Whenever you discard a card, if it has madness, untap Anje Falkenrath. So you see, this is where things get interesting, and the diversity of decks and the ratio of madness cards vary, because she's allowing you to rummage through your list for every madness card indefinitely. So if I discard a madness card, and just so you guys know how this works, you're going to draw a card last. So you activate her ability, you put the draw effect on the stack, right, that activated ability, and then you can do one of 2 things. If you're discarding a madness card represents 2 abilities. It is a static ability as well as a triggered ability. You can place that on the stack, followed by the untap, or vice versa. But you're always drawing a card last. Anyways, there's somewhere in the region of 40 plus madness cards, and anytime you discard a madness card, you can continuously go through your list, right? So imagine if nearly half of your deck was madness, you get to see half of your deck if every single card you draw is another madness card, because this ability costs nothing for you to activate in terms of mana. So while that's nice and all, the first thing I want to warn you against, if you are watching this primer for inspiration on your own list, stick with the good madness cards. Don't put all the madness cards. That's just crazy. That's mad. You don't want to do that. You want to stick with at least 1/4 of your list being madness. And I believe I have at least 26 madness cards in my deck, and we can break down which ones I chose and why. I'll let you know right off the bat. All the creatures, put in all the creatures. I'll explain why later. But Anje Falkenrath, she's special because she lets you see your deck. Now, she's working with an age-old strategy, a 2-card combo, and wouldn't you know it, Rakdos, using Worldgorger Dragon in any animate enchantment. So this is the primary win condition for any Anje list. They might have some secondary plans, but this is always plan A. You'll have Worldgorger Dragon out, as well as an animate enchantment in hand. And Worldgorger Dragon reads Creature Nightmare Dragon. Flying Trample, all pretty irrelevant. 7/7 body, maybe important. When Worldgorger Dragon enters the battlefield, exile all other permanents you control. His other triggered ability says, when Worldgorger Dragon leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. So if you don't know how this particular loop works, if we were to cast Animate Dead, let's just say we have basic Animate Dead, generic, black, it brings a creature back from a graveyard. So you target your World Gorger Dragon. When World Gorger Dragon enters the battlefield, it will not only see the Animate Dead, but everything else you own. This is where things get risky and why people don't play this combo. But it will begin to exile all those things. So while that triggers on the stack, people can do anything. They could even kill your World Gorger Dragon. And if they kill the Gorger, well, guess what? His second trigger is going to hit the stack first, which means you don't get to recover anything, but you will certainly exile all of the things, and that's bad. So to continue the loop, if he's not interacted with, which hopefully he isn't, or she, might be a she, maybe your dragon's a she, when Animate Dead operates with World Gorger Dragon, it will essentially exile the board, and because of the side effect of Animate Dead saying you bury the creature, you're going to go ahead and bury World Gorger Dragon when Animate Dead leaves. And now we have that second triggered ability on the stack. It's going to bring back all of our exiled cards to include Animate Dead. And hence, the loop begins. And I say loop because you can't necessarily cancel this if there isn't another creature in a graveyard. So if you put in all your madness creatures, you will have something to target at the end of this. But the beauty of this list is that we win at instant speed, or essentially instant speed, as soon as we've begun that animate loop. So with Necromancy, true instant speed. Everything we're going to do is going to let us win at instant speed, at least with the win conditions I've added into my particular list. So the core strategy for any Anje Falkenrath list is to rummage through your deck until you find the conditions to allow you to win with World Gorgers. So that might be an Entomb now with an Animate Dead in your hand. You're going to wait till the end of your opponent's turn, cast the Entomb on your turn, animate it, go off, do the thing. And you're winning by casting one of two spells: Avacyn's Judgment and Fiery Temper. And of course there is a third win condition in this list, but we rarely ever resort to that with Bloodhall Priest. And of course we can talk about that later, but it's very much non-essential the way this deck list is built, or at least how mine has been constructed. Avacyn's Judgment, to start with that, is one generic, one red. However, it has a madness cost of X and red. So, Avacyn's Judgment deals regularly 2 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players. I like that last part. If Avacyn's Judgment's madness cost was paid, it deals X damage divided as you choose among these creatures and or players instead. So with that, we can just blow out the board, because whenever we do that World Gorger loop, remember, our permanents are coming into play fresh. So everything's going to be untapped. So that means our lands are untapped. So we'll basically do the loop as many times as we want to generate infinite mana to go ham with the Avacyn's Judgment, or use Fiery Temper. So you might have noticed Avacyn's Judgment, sorcery speed, not an issue with Anje Falkenrath out, because everything becomes instant speed with her. If you're wondering, madness costs allow you to cheat the speed of a spell. So even if it was a creature that didn't have flash, anything aside from Muckdrub in our list, we are allowed to play it on other people's turns so long as it was discarded and cast from exile for its madness cost. So essentially everything is instant speed. But Fiery Temper, this little beauty, this is a 1 generic, 2 red instant speed card, so we can do it anytime. And it has a madness cost of 1 red, so really excellent. It's almost like lightning bolt. Fiery Temper deals 3 damage to target creature or player. And what was that, I hear you ask? How do you burn out the board with Fiery Temper? Well, with Kozilek, the Butcher of Truth, of course. Kozilek is a classic combo piece for a lot of decks. The only thing we're really looking at here for Kozilek in this instance, much like Gitrog, is the shuffle effect. So basically, we are going to use Anja to tap out, discard Fiery Temper as soon as we've rummaged for it. We will cast Fiery Temper for the 1 red, hit that player, and then we will rummage until we hit Kozilek. Shuffle our list, keep doing the thing. Now, what's really beautiful about Madness is, despite whether you cast the card or not, you will always get the draw. So long as you have at least 1 card in your hand when you begin the World Gorger Dragon loop, you will be able to discard that 1 card, draw a new card, and if it's a Madness card, discard that card, cast that card and still draw a card. So you'll always have the one card in hand. So no matter how this works out, so long as you have one card in hand, a Kozilek somewhere in your 99, and a Fiery Temper there as well, you'll keep rummaging until you run into the Fiery Temper, cast it, and keep going off by shuffling it in with Kozilek. And of course, Kozilek, if he comes up first, you'll shuffle the list. It becomes a longer game. I think your opponent should just side with you and say, you know what, you got it. We can do another one. Or they can watch you shuffle through the list. It's entirely up to them. But the last condition, because I've mentioned it, the last win condition rather, is Bloodhall Priest. You don't ever have to put yourself in this state to do this unless for some reason Kozilek gets removed from your graveyard. So in that instance, then you will do this, but try not to do this. Because you can't do anything with Anja. She's useless if you're Hellbent. But Bloodhall Priest, she's on the screen now. 2 generic, 1 black, 1 red. Creature, vampire, cleric. Keeping it tribal here. Whenever Bloodhall Priest, it's a tough word. Bloodhall Priest enters the battlefield or attacks. She's not attacking. If you have no cards in hand, hopefully not, Bloodhall Priest deals 2 damage to target creature or player. And what's this? She has a madness cost of 1 generic, 1 black, and 1 red. So she's basically Anja's twin. So how do you get to this state? Well, you would cast an instant speed card or all the instant speed cards in your hand, or during the loop, you'll rummage for instant speed cards, cast instant speed cards from your hand, not for their madness, because if we're doing that, we're drawing, right? Because you want to be hellbent for this strategy. Not good. If you get rid of your whole hand, you can continue the World Gorger loop, that's why they have to be instant speed, and just bounce permanents in and out of exile. And when Bloodhall Priest comes in, she'll ping someone for 2, continue to do that. You'll have a hearty laugh. You'll win the oddest way possible, but you'll have 1 with no cards in hand. And I guess that's fun for some people. Actually sounded kind of fun when I was saying it. I have never attempted that win, but that is another win baked into the list. And there's plenty of alternative wins we can add to this list. But the issue here is that most of them work around World Gorger Dragon. As a matter of fact, if you look at this list, everything works around World Gorger Dragon. So our core strategy here is to work towards that loop and win with those conditions, those 3 cards. However, what happens if World Gorger Dragon dies? So if World Gorger Dragon dies, let me preface this by stating, you should be winning with this list on average turn 3 or 4. From all my playtesting with friends, goldfishing, playing the deck out with a 4-man pod, with a 5-man pod, don't ask me about that one. The deck should win by turn 3 or 4. If it doesn't, you're usually in some pretty deep vampire doo-doo. You don't want to go that deep into a game with this list because we don't have that much draw potential outside of the rummaging, which is, again, equivalency. You're always going to discard a card to draw a card. You're not gaining anything. And you're not really geared towards a mid to late game. So, if World Gorger Dragon gets Swords to Plowshared, you're in a bad place. You will win by playing all of your creatures and beating people down, which is not what you want to do at all. Maybe you get to play Kozilek that game. However, when you're working towards a state where you should be playing out your animate loop, you should have hopefully rummaged for a hand that had kept Bolt Bend or Ricochet Trap or Pyroblast or Imp's Mischief, anything to redirect, stifle, counter, whatever the case, your opponent's measures for removing your 1, World Gorger Dragon, or 2, stopping your animate effect. Stopping the animate effect isn't the bad one. Honestly, if I was an opponent and I saw Anja, I would just wait for the World Gorger Dragon because that really cuts that person out of the game. However, you want to rummage for those countermeasures and save them for that instance when you go to animate your dragon. Otherwise, you didn't train that dragon right. However, so you're not stranded. I know you're wondering, well, can there be a plan B for this list? There certainly can be. I went for the all-in approach. I feel like with the rummaging effect, we're seeing so many of our cards and we have so many opportunities to just stack our hand with countermeasures, waiting for that opportune moment. We should be able to stave off any of our opponents with our countermeasures and go off with our 3-win conditions and the World Gorger loop. But if you're not all too comfortable with that, I get it. There is a mono-red plan that you should be equally familiar with, utilizing Dualcaster Mage and Heat Shimmer. Now, you've likely all already seen this, but I'll illustrate the effect anyways in case you haven't watched my Neheb primer and or any other primer that really deals with mono-red. Dualcaster Mage is 1 generic, 2 red. It has a flash and triggered ability. So when Dualcaster Mage enters the battlefield, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You choose a new target for that copy. And there's a little spell called Heat Shimmer that works beautifully with it. So when you cast this 2 generic, 1 red sorcery spell, so you can only do this on your turn, put a token into play that's a copy of target creature. It has haste, and at the end of turn, remove that permanent from the game. The idea being you would cast Heat Shimmer at any creature, maybe Anja, maybe one of your opponent's creatures. That's the beauty of Heat Shimmer. And then, while that's on the stack, drop the Dualcaster Mage, copying Heat Shimmer, because when he ETBs, he gets to copy it. Have the new Heat Shimmer copy him, make 1 billion mages, or, yeah, wizards, and then swing at all of your opponents. So it's not really bad that Heat Shimmer is sorcery speed, because you're going to want to do infinite combat damage to your opponents. Now, this is sort of the go-to combo, 2-card combo for most red or splashed red list, in case that part of the color pie doesn't have a very dependable combo, much like World Gorger Dragon, but here it's okay. So why I don't run it and why I would advise you run it is because both of these cards have value outside of their own combo, but they're not necessarily operating well functionally for this list. Dualcaster Mage, yes, you can use it to stop things. However, Heat Shimmer is kind of a dead card, and you want to be rummaging for the components that are going to allow you to play out your World Gorger loop first and foremost. So even if Heat Shimmer did wind up your hand from a rubbage, you might not want to keep it. You may just discard it with Anja and keep digging. What if you have Animate Dead and Heat Shimmer, right? And you discard Heat Shimmer and you pull your Dualcaster Mage. You feel like a schmuck because you went for plan A, but you were punished. And now we have no recovery effects in this list. We're certainly not using Yawgmoth's Will. We don't have anything like Shards of Sanity to pull our Heat Shimmer from the grave. So if it winds up being a dead draw in your hand and you need to get rid of it, because again, we don't have great draw potential in this list, this can wind up hurting you a whole lot. And that's kind of why I'm avoiding it. I mean, you should definitely consider it in your list. Again, I'm advocating for it, although I don't use it. It's good to have a secondary option. I just plan heavily on plan A working. That's just the idea for this list, in my opinion. That's how everyone should play it. Work towards plan A, hardcore, and make sure it's not just a one-trick pony, again, by having the right amount of countermeasures in your list. Not all the madness cards. Stick to 1/4 of your list. Fill up the rest of your list with good countermeasures to keep your combo active. But if you feel uncomfortable still, there is a little combo with a new card called Curse of Fool's Wisdom and Villas. These are both relatively new cards. Villas came out 2 sets ago, 1 set ago? It's been a while. We covered him on this show. I mean, if you watched the Cumballs Pack video, we've covered him. But Curse of Fool's Wisdom. This is a 4 generic, 2 black. Ooh, rough. Enchantment, Aura, Curse. So you know it's going to go on to a player. Enchant player. Whenever enchanted player draws a card, they lose 2 life, and you gain 2 life. So you can enchant any player with this. It has a madness effect, or madness cost rather, of 3 and 1 black. So, what does this do with Villas, I hear you asking? The beauty of this combo and why I like it in this list, and I was running it initially, I would rate World Gorger Dragon, Villas, Curse of Fool's Wisdom, and Dualcaster Mage. But with Curse of Fool's Wisdom attached to you, if you were to discard this and pay the madness cost, because you're not going to want to pay 6 for this. We're trying to play quick here. This is competitive, EDH. You attach it to yourself, and if Villas is out, well, beautiful things happen. Villas, Broker of Blood, is 5 generic, 3 black, 8 mana. Ooh, Oh, but we have every animate enchantment in this deck. Okay, let's keep reading. Legendary creature demon. He could be your general, but we're not going to do that. Flying. Just okay. He has an ability that says black, pay 2 life. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Okay, this is all just willy-nilly. You know why we're here. He has a third ability that says whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. So if you have Curse of Fool's Wisdom on yourself and you were to activate his ability or lose life in any fashion, I don't know, crack a fetch land, you will be able to draw through your entire list. Do you see it? You see, I want to put both cards on the screen now. So whenever you lose life, you draw a card. And whenever you draw a card, Curse of Fool's Wisdom, that person's going to lose 2 life and you gain 2 life. Well, you're net even every single time. The crazy part is, this is not a May ability for that cursed player. It wouldn't be a curse if it was a May ability. He is strictly cursed in the sense that he will deck himself if he doesn't kill Vilis. That player being you at this point. Or that'd be very funny if you play against a Vilis list. Go ahead and Curse of Fool's Wisdom him. That would be hilarious. If they're not running Sacrifice, absolutely hilarious. But the issue with this combo, yes, you may draw your deck. How do you win with your deck? Plenty of ways to win with your deck. I don't know. Glinthorn Buccaneer, Conflagrate. There's plenty of ways that you can just loop effects to kill the board out. But you notice how I'm mentioning cards that aren't in the list? When you play Vilis, you need to run effects like Burnt Offering. Burnt Offering is 1 black, I believe, instant speed. You can sacrifice a creature as part of the cost, and you gain mana equal to that creature's casting cost. Don't quote me. It's going to be on the screen now. But you can gain mana in either red or black. So Burnt Offering, perfect for Rakdos, only usable in Rakdos. You can't use this in a mono black list. Sacrifice, as I mentioned earlier, but you need to kill Vilis to stop the loop. So that's 3 cards, and you might be running Curse of Fool's Wisdom anyways. You know, if you're going Madness crazy and you've got it, why not add Vilis at this point? But again, you will need to kill Vilis to end the loop because you don't want to deck yourself. That would be embarrassing. Oh, and Reanimate. You're probably going to want to run Reanimate too. That's 4 cards already. That's 4 cards to get Vilis working. We only have 99 cards. It's crazy to say. We only have 99 cards to run in this list, but every single slot, I know certain things are meta dependent and such, but every single slot in your 99 should be strong and should work towards your plan A. If plan B somehow fills in to those slots while still working towards plan A, that's great. Unfortunately, nothing really fills the plan A checkboxes that we're looking for. We can only really go for that World Gorger loop and then run an efficient list elsewise. So I really don't recommend using Vilis because it adds a lot to the list. If you have a list tailored with Anja at the helm for Vilis, again, my tier is this. World Gorger Dragon, Vilis, again, tailored list, then Dualcaster Mage, the de facto mono red combo, because that's very easy to slide into a list and still make the list usable. So I know what you're thinking looking at this list. It's absolutely crazy, like something straight out of the mind of a madman, or woman in this case. And you know what? Anja is just that kind of gal. She is literally an all-in or nothing deck. And if you want to build Anja competitively, you really need to play to her strengths. That is, being able to rummage and successfully build structure a hand that is going to allow you to commit to a win. However, there are certain cards that are a little too all-in even for this guy, so I don't want to go too mad here, but there are cards I've omitted from my strategy, and I've tested them, I've played them. I don't really like them here because they make you commit in such a way that you neuter yourself and you remove yourself from the game. However, before I touch on those 2 particular cards, the cards I will ask you, I urge you to leave out of your list, let's talk about one more win condition that works without Anja on the field. And even though we are a color heavy list, we do need our blacks and our reds manas for things. There is a card that I think fits really neatly into your land base that will allow you to effectively win without Anja on deck. And that card is Sun-Scorched Desert. It's on the screen now, you should be looking at it, but I'm going to read it to you anyways. It's a land desert. and it has a triggered ability. So when Sunscorched Desert enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to target player. You can also tap it for generic, but that 1 damage, every time World Gorger Dragon hits the field, he will bounce that thing and then put it right back down. So you'll be able to basically strike your opponents out. Who cares about infinite mana? Doesn't matter. Who cares about Anja at this point? We're literally going to damage out the board with a land. It's a little bit of a niche trick, a little bit of a niche tactic. I know Narumea lists use it because you can ghostly flick the heck out of that thing, but we're also getting to do that here. So why not steal that tech for ourselves? I don't have it in my list currently, only because I haven't found an appropriate way to slot it in. I'm using 27 lands. I could probably use 28 lands if I'm being honest. Though the rummaging effect allows us to pull the lands we need per turn, it's usually better to rummage at the end of someone else's turn, so you don't want to be missing lands and having to rummage on your turn to find the lands. But if we were to add another land, this would be the land. I might find a way to slot this in otherwise, but it is a win condition that is certainly noteworthy if you've never heard of Sunscorched Desert. If you've never heard of it, definitely consider it for an Anja list. And before we get to the 2 cards I stated we should omit, let's discuss one card that can certainly be in your list, but is redundant if you're running a Shuffle Anja. I'm going to call my list as a Shuffle Anja list because it has Kozilek. Anyways, Cut Ribbons. Cut Ribbons is great, not necessarily for the top effect, but for the aftermath effect. I'm going to read this off for you. It's 1 generic, 1 red, sorcery speed. For Cut, you can deal 4 damage to target creature. Alchemist Greeting, we got that. Ribbons. X. 2 black. Sorcery speed. Aftermath allows you to cast a spell only from your graveyard, then you exile it. Oh, boo-hoo. You never get to see it again. However, each opponent loses X life. That's absurd and unnecessary. It's really cute as a rummage tactic, but again, if we are going to cycle through our list indefinitely with a shuffle effect, every single card in our deck is lethal. Things like Fiery Temper. If I can cast that 1 billion times, why am I bothering with anything else? Cut Ribbons is fine if you don't run a shuffler. So again, neutral note on this card. If you don't run a beautiful Kozilek, you should probably just put Cut Ribbons in your list because it's going to be very effective once you've net infinite mana to blow out the board. Again, slightly problematic. You're just going to need to move the Animate Dead to target any other creature, stop the World Gorger loop, and then go ahead and cast this for its aftermath after you've generated the infinite manas. So the 2 cards I want to talk about that I believe you should omit, this is arguably the better of the 2, maybe? They're both on equal footing. They're both really bad. You don't really want to do this to yourself in this particular list, but the first one is Necropotence. Oh my god. Such a hot take. I see people with pitchforks looking at our Discord already. Anyways, 3 black, enchantment, skip your draw step. That's right. You'll never draw again. Whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard. What? Do you not care about Anja's ability? Pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library face down, put that card in your hand at the beginning of your next end step. Oh, I'm not drawing, I'm putting things in my hand. Well, when you go to do this, if you were to put, this is absolutely crazy, okay? So you Dark Ritual this on the field, you somehow have just an obscene amount of mana. Maybe you run Shallow Grave. No, that wouldn't even work. Necromancy. You would go ahead, pay a lot of life. Let's just say you pay, and this can still whiff, but you pay 25, 30 life. You grab 30 cards, you set it aside. The strategy for Necropotence in Anje Falkenrath is at the end of your turn, you put the cards from your Necro pile into your hand, you take the 7 best ones, Necromancy is going to be one of them, and you dump the rest into your graveyard. When you do so, you stack all of the untapped triggers from Anja, and you stack all of the exile triggers from Necropotence. So within this time frame, you're hoping to, with whatever is left in your hand still, discard and draw with Anja to find all the conditions you need to win. Ideally, every ritual you have, ideally, Necromancy and World Gorger Dragon, but you're going to try to win right now. You would dump during the rummaging, however many untapped triggers you put on the stack, dump World Gorger Dragon, Necromancy at instant speed, because you can do that. And it works the same way as Animate Dead, I explained earlier. You exile all the things, you generate infinite mana. Again, you still have these triggers on the stack. So if at any point, if you whiff, and you still can, if you whiff, you just lose the game. You're going to lose the game. There's no way you come back from this. So ideally, you have tailored the hand with all of that life lost to go ahead and win. And it's a really lovely all or nothing strategy. And it does have a great odds, a good success rate in my opinion. But it's not entirely worth it in this list because we are going to effectively on every single turn rummage and craft the hand we need anyways. I mean, we're playing black, so we have every single tutor that this game offers, at least the best ones, that will target any permanent on our list. They're not specific for anything. Our Vamp Tutor, our Diabolic Tutor, so on and so forth. Demonic Tutor. Even Grim Tutor. But we don't really need to be playing this particular card because we have the tutors for efficiency. We have all the rummaging effects. If you want to run Necropotence, go for it. If you get shut down, don't blame the board for losing because you played the riskiest card for this list. And I really don't think it's worth it. I hope my explanation of the win with Necropotence was fine for you. I mean, that's what you would do. You would have to do that. Or you just craft a beautiful hand of 7 and maybe you didn't see World Gorger Dragon. He's somewhere at the bottom of your deck. You would just hold with whatever you have and hope it's good. Like all the countermeasures. And your Animate Dead at this point is like, no, you need Necromancy. So bad. I don't know. Anyways, correct me if I'm wrong. If there's another enchant that allows you to play at instant speed, maybe Emergence Zone, you might be running other things to manipulate. Vidalcan Orrery. Yeah, you might be doing that. So the other card I would say to omit from this list, don't hate me. Don't hate me. All of the founding deck list for Anja pretty much ran this strategy. Doomsday. Okay. So I actually ran Doomsday for a hot minute. It's fine. It works. Insidious Dreams is better. I'm going to put that on the screen now. I'm just going to flash it on the screen. Take it away. Flash it on the screen again. Take it away. You're going to have to look up Insidious Dreams. It's in my primer. But it's better than Doomsday. Doomsday. 3 black, sorcery speed, pay. You've probably seen this card and seen the strategies for it. Every single list has their own Doomsday pile, and we can talk about one briefly here. But Doomsday is pay half your life, round it up, put your graveyard on top of your library, then remove all but 5 cards from your library from the game. Put the rest on top of your library in any order. Basically, you craft the perfect 5-card winning combo. I was going to say hand. You still have your hand, by the way. You get to do stuff. And maybe Anja's out. Hopefully they don't just slay Anja when they see you do this. They're like, oh, you have a Madness card in hand? You want to start comboing? I'm going to kill Anja really quick while Doomsday's on the stack. Now what do you do? Basically, I think the generic pile is something like World Gorger Dragon on top, any animate enchantment, Avacyn's Judgment, right? You can do Cut Ribbons, Bloodhall Priest, any other win condition, right? My list in particular would probably be World Gorger Dragon, any enchant, animate, effect. You have your Avacyn's Judgment. I would put Fiery Temper and Kozilek, right? And you just shuffle through the 5 cards, however that pans out for you, or the 3 cards. You're going to win if this goes off. But basically, what you're saying, when you do this, and it's broadcasting, you're at sorcery speed. You're letting people know right then and there, I will try to win the game now. Is this okay? And the best way to set this up is with Dark Ritual. So you're already hoping that your world, the perfect world you exist in, your hand has the Doomsday and the Dark Red, and you're going off, right? You're going crazy. I hope it works out for you. So many issues with this. I I prefer the Kozilek builds because they just work a little bit better, but you need Anja to get this started. What's cute about the Doomsday loops is that you can use Anja to start them off, right? So if you have a Madness card in hand, you can discard the Madness card, tap her, draw the World Gorger, right? That's at the top. Untap Anja, and so long as you have at least, if it's Animate Dead, you're doing this at sorcery speed, you need 1 generic and 1 black. Tap her again, discard World Gorger Dragon, of course, draw Animate Dead. She's tapped. The board is privy to all this information. They've likely seen the strategy already. And then you're going to go cast Animate Dead like this. And be like, ugh. And just hope that World Gorger Dragon survives. Because if anything goes wrong at this point, you have nothing in your deck to help you recover. Literally nothing. You don't have any form of land. You don't have any form of mana from artifacts. You're not in a good place. So while Doomsday can be very successful, and Necropotence, yes, can be very successful, they are beyond madness for this list. It's already enough that our commander plays with that flavor, but you don't need to go that crazy to win games. Trust me. Goldfish this list if you want. You should be producing wins by turn 3 or 4. I prefer to play as quickly as possible, but play mid-range. We have countermeasures to stop our opponents from winning. You don't always have to use your shred of sanity. Where's that sucker? You don't need to use this card. I love this card. Shred memory, 1 generic, 1 black, to transmute and find your Animate Dead. You could stop the Gitrog player by removing his Dagmar Salvage at instant speed, or his Shuffler while it's right there. His triggered abilities on the stack. We have countermeasures built into our list in ways like this. Like, there are ways that this list functions that allow you to very quickly and efficiently set up the combo without the unnecessary step of shooting yourself in the foot, is what I'm getting at. So I would definitely urge you to go against those 2 cards I've just mentioned. Still, play them if you want. It's your deck at the end of the day. I don't think it's worth the risk. Now, as I mentioned off the bat, this wouldn't be a very definitive guide on playing Anje Falkenrath if I didn't tell you what Madness cards you should be playing with. And I've got a list in front of me. This should be the list that's in your primer. But we have 26 Madness cards, so we're even 1 over that 1/4 scale. So a little bit more than 1/4 of our list is filled with madness, chock full of madness. Every single creature is used. I'm not going to name all of them. I'm not going to mention what all of them do. Nightshade Assassin, you want that one. Muckdrub, you want that one. Go ahead and look at the primer for those. I'll put them on the screen now. Those 2 are really great. 1 redirects spells. 1 allows you to put -1/-1 on a creature. So just avoid, indestructible. You just say this dies. It is a -5/-5 now. Whatever the case. It'd be amazing if you made it -5/-5. So I recommend using all of the creatures for 3 reasons. 1, World Gorger Dragon. To end that loop, you need to target a creature. And it can't be World Gorger Dragon this time. So any one of the creatures you rummaged away from a previous turn, if for some reason one of your opponents didn't lose a creature, any one of those rummaged away creatures, perfectly viable target for Animate Dead. So go ahead, do that, end the loop, win the game if you must. You actually don't really need to win that way in my list, but important for other people's list. Mausoleum Secrets. This little card, not very good when it came out, I'm gonna say. However, this is one of the only lists I can think of that utilizes it extremely well. So it's 1 generic, 1 black for an instant speed spell. Undergrowth. Ugh. Such a bleh mechanic. Search your library for a black card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of creatures in your graveyard. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. They need to know that you grabbed Entomb, okay? They need to know that you grabbed Necromancy. So what's the beauty of this is that you don't even need to get the creature count that high. And what's also nice is that creatures can be red or black, so you're able to utilize any of the rummaged away creatures to find said black card. Now, what's lovely about this is that most of our win conditions are enacted with black cards, like all of the tutors we're using. And again, Entomb being the big one, you just Entomb World Gorger Dragon, you're in a very good place if you have one of the 3 animate auras. So This is a really great card in this list, one I definitely recommend in your tutor suite, and it's strengthened by all of your madness creatures. Songs of the Damned. What I love about this card, and it's an oldie but a goodie, I think they reprinted it in Uma, actually, but it's 1 black, interrupt. I have the old one. Add 1 black mana to your mana pool for each creature in your graveyard. So if you rummaged away 5 creatures and at the beginning of turn 3 you want to combo off, you have a Cabal Ritual at threshold for 1 mana. You know, no work. It was that easy. Like you're ready to take home the game at that point. Hopefully you got your Imp's Mischief and you got some other spells like your Animate Dead that you want to pay for. This is going to help you do that. So having all of the creatures feeds into these effects that are very good, very healthy cards for your list. You will thank yourself for playing all of the madness creatures. And again, you get some fun ones to throw down anyways. Maybe you want to do some damage to someone with that 4/1 Blood Mad Vampire. I think that's her name. Yeah, throw her down, start pinging the board. Why not? If you have the spare mana and nothing else to do, and it's that opponent's turn before it's yours, go ahead and drop a creature and start wailing on people in case you have enough in your graveyard for Songs and Mausoleum Secrets to do their tricks. More advisable to just rummage them away. However, it's good having creatures. Bodies are good. You need them for diabolic intent. So all of the madness creatures, trust me, you'll thank me later. The other madness cards I would recommend, and I'm going to list them off for you now and give you a quick quip as to why I find them useful, are Alchemist Greeting. This is so fantastic at blowing up Nekusars. I'm so sorry, man, if you're watching this, but I decimated a lot of cards with this card because 4 damage is the perfect number. Most things die to 4. Neheb, Dreadhorde Champion. Sorry if I'm putting one of you down in the future. Cult of the Netherworld. This is such an excellent card for the rummaging because when you discard it, you can cast it for 0, grab a black creature, likely another rummager, discard that, and you get to draw 1, 2, 3 cards successfully off of those 2. So very good in this list. Psychotic Episode. This is an interesting one, and it's funny because I haven't drawn this card much, but I did get to cast it once, and I got to see a Force of Will off the top of someone's list. I put that at the bottom of their library. Psychotic Episode is extremely good. It falls into that duress cabal therapy category of, look at someone's hand, but then some, with the added benefit of just looking at the top of someone's list. So I really, really love that Madness card. Super effective. Again, it gets to play at instant speed if Anya's out. We also have Dark Withering, and man, I gotta tell you, there's such a good amount of creature removal in this list, and it just adds to it. Its madness cost is 1 black, and it's 4 generic, 2 black to cast regularly. So you're going to cast it for its madness, but you destroy target non-black creature. It is somewhat narrow in its effectiveness at killing creatures, but you're going to kill some pretty important creatures that are non-black. We have Psychotic Haze, another instant speed spell. It's 2 generic, 2 black, or 1 generic, 1 black for its madness cost. Psychotic Haze deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. So dorks, beware. We're gonna slay everyone's dork, everyone's Dark Confidant. There's a bunch of 2/1s, 1/1s out there that are just gonna get slain, and Psychotic Haze is there for that moment. Do it. It's fun. Add this card to your list. It's actually a viable madness effect. And lastly, to the list of must include madness cards outside of pieces that win us the game, obviously those are must includes, and our creatures, is Strength of Lunacy. Strength of Lunacy is one of those effects that is or isn't good depending on the scenario. But if you do find you play against a lot of players that have white or splash white in their list, this is a great way to stop the dreaded Swords to Plowshare when you cast this for 1 black. So it's 1 generic, 1 black, enchant creature aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+1 and has protection from white. So throw it on Anya, why not? Throw it on anyone you're concerned about getting slain, and odds are likely they will not be exiled this game. Those are good madness cards. Those are madness cards you should run in your list. Any of the other ones I didn't mention, or any of the ones that aren't necessarily in this list, aside from Biting Rain, I think Biting Rain is good. However, it's not necessary to have that much of redundancy or that much of a madness effect in your list. I think 26 is the sweet spot. It has been for me. If you found that you are more successful with 30, if you found that you're more successful with 20 or less, let me know. That's the thing with these lists. It takes time for them to fully develop. And up until this point, I feel like this Anja list is very strong and I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I would love to hear your opinions on it. We've had a lot of healthy conversations over on the Discord. And this is where I'm going to plug those. So if you like Twitter, Instagram, or Discord, feel free to join us over there. We hold conversations on all the lists that have been featured here before they're featured. And Anja is one of those lists because for a while, and a lot of you guys know this, I was working on Chainer, I was hitting walls. I felt shackled, I felt really shackled trying to make that list because Chainer, not quite the greatest Rakdos commander, but a really interesting utility knife. Anja, on the other hand, really excellent, very quick, very competitive, but very one note. So you might get shut out of games sometimes, and that's okay. Do your best to recover with the creature beatdown, and or if you were smart, you've added one of the alternative wins that we talked about today. This is a long one. I'm sorry. If you sat through all of this, congratulations. I'm trying something new with the channel. I'm not going to do these videos in parts anymore. I think too much changes over the course of time with new sets releasing that I might just do update videos for the lists that people are still interested in, and or I am interested in providing Neheb. I love that list, but any commanders that are up there or can be in the upper echelon of top tier competitors, I will make sure we continuously update for. But otherwise, if you want to see games played out, expect any list that's featured in a deck tech on this channel to be featured in a future Brew Wars. So if you've been enjoying our Brew Wars episodes and or the recently released Deck Doctor, let me know in the comment section down below. Of course, if you have your own Anja list, I'd love to see it. Please leave a link in the description, or rather the comment section down below as well. You can check mine out in the description, but we can compare, take notes, see what we've learned from constant play, and work towards making a better competitive commander. That's the whole idea here. Thank you for joining me on another Deck Tech episode here on the 99. Again, my name is Patrick Marlett, and happy brewing, babies.